And you know, Dee Dee, it looks like the women of New Hampshire decided that Hillary Clinton was a woman they wanted to rule, at least the United States. What happened on Tuesday night?
I think it was such an interesting moment. You know, we've all seen the tape now of Hillary crying, and we're just sitting here in the control room or on the floor at NBC just having a conversation about what is crying, which I think is an interesting question in and of itself. Hillary welled up. I guess that's considered crying. No tears rolled down her cheeks, but she had an emotional moment, and I think people, women in particular, connected with that. And I think what it said to them was, I really feel for her. I really feel for what she's been through, and I think it's unfair. And even people who didn't support her politically or who were undecided or who don't even like her thought, I'm not going to let it end here. I'm not going to let it end like this. I'm going to stand up for her against the way she's been treated and give her another chance. And that's exactly what happened.
I wonder if people also had the reaction that I had, that it was so tough for her to get beaten up by the tabloids and get attacks from the left and right, but also to have her husband going around basically apologizing for her loss, upcoming loss, saying, I can't make her younger. I can't make her taller. That's what really, at least for Mika and myself, seemed to hurt the most, that it just didn't seem fair.
I think people definitely had a sense that it wasn't fair. I don't think New Hampshire will be remembered, this iteration of New Hampshire will be remembered as Bill Clinton's finest hour. I think he was off message a lot, but I think he was feeling her pain. I think everybody felt her pain. I think that even Pat Buchanan was saying that he thought it was horrible.
Surprised, though, even people that like Bill Clinton and have liked him for a very long time were surprised by just how undisciplined he was out on the campaign trail. What's going on there?
Well, I think we've seen that repeatedly over Bill Clinton's public life. When things get really rough, I think sometimes he loses his bearings briefly, and I think we saw a little bit of that in New Hampshire. And then he finds them, and I think he sort of figures out how to move forward. But he goes through, I think, a lot of the anger and disappointment publicly, which I think we saw in New Hampshire. I think he, more than anyone, thought Hillary was being treated unfairly. He's been on the receiving end of that kind of brutal criticism. He doesn't like it. He didn't like to see his wife going through it. I don't think all of his pronouncements were particularly helpful, but I think it's interesting that you guys had that reaction, that it made you feel even more intensely that even her husband sort of was out there, you know, kind of trying to figure out what to do in this harsh media environment. And I think women were really turned off by, it wasn't just that people were being critical, they were gleefully dancing prematurely on her political grave. And I think people just had enough. And one of the reasons the polls might have been off a bit is I think they didn't really count on such high turnout among women. 57% of Democratic voters were women, and I don't think that was an accident.
I wonder if some of them decided that day to get out and vote.
I think that's right. People who might not have gone out said, you know what, I'm going to go out and take a stand against
this. I've got to do something.
Right.
All the op-eds today, why Hillary won. Gail Collins has quite a piece. E.J. Dionne, did she win the primary on the basis of such episodes rather than policies, on anecdotes rather than data? These were moments when she finally peeled back the veneer, said Clinton advisor Paul Begala. I mean,
right.
Is this something that was almost spontaneous? What we were seeing out there in the field didn't translate, and on the polls as well.
Yeah, Dee Dee, if you had been up there and followed it day in, day out, you would have concluded that Barack Obama was going to win by 10 points.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was nothing on the ground to suggest Hillary Clinton would come anywhere close to the result that she got.
I think that's right, but you know, it started for me, as a Democrat, I was worried that Barack Obama was going to win big and then be coronated, which I think would have been bad for his campaign, bad for the party, you know, would have led to a bad outcome. But I had this really unsettled feeling. My poor husband had to listen to it all weekend long. Something was really, I was really upset, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And over the last few days, then I started hearing from my friends who felt exactly the same way. And so by Monday, I felt this sense in the air that women were really angry, or they were just upset. So I certainly didn't predict that Hillary was going to pull it out. I was stunned just like everybody else, but I did pick up on something that people were feeling, that and the more women started talking to each other, the more we realized that a lot of us felt the same way. And this isn't just my Democratic friends, and it's not just people who were supporting Hillary. It was women across the political spectrum.
I was just going to say, women across the political spectrum of all ages. I heard about it from my mother. I heard it from friends. Women just angry at the way she was being treated.
Right, exactly. And so, you know, it's always great to see the whole process upended and everybody's surprised. That's good for politics.
Oh yeah,
that is great for politics. It's all right. Hey, Dee Dee, thank you for being with us, and congratulations on surviving the SmackDown with Chris Matthews the other night.
Good job.
Boy, that was interesting TV.
Speaking of picking on women.
It was interesting TV. Gotta love it.
All right. Thanks a lot, Dee Dee.
You know what this does, too?
What's that?
It kind of levels the playing field, and these two, Clinton and Obama, are going to have to fight it out. And it'll get back to the issues. I think it'll be interesting. We'll see more from each side.
Speaking of Chris Matthews, we need to get him back on tomorrow.
We do.
That guy's on fire.